Hello traders, welcome back to today's weekly Forex forecast. My name is Bright, also known as Viva Chief, and in today's forecast, I'm going to take you step by step on how to identify high probability supply and demand zones and possibly highlight higher probability setups that we're looking out for in the coming week. So stay tuned, subscribe to the channel if you've not done so, comment if you have anything to suggest or pairs that you want us to look at in the coming week. Okay, let's dive to the chart. As you can see on the screen, we have DXY. DXY, starting with the weekly time frame here, you can see that weekly time frame market is bearish. We have this demand zone which is here to be mitigated. So what we're hoping to see in future, if market can trade down to this demand zone here, okay, this demand zone is not really fully mitigated. So you want to see if price can drop down to this demand zone on weekly time frame, it becomes a good opportunity to long. Okay. All right. So now on the daily time frame, here, you can see that this demand zone we pointed out last time. See, still holding price here, very strong. Okay, so right now on the daily time frame, we still don't have anything to do here because if you check the chart very well, we have here, this is the high, this is the low, and right here where the price is now is the equilibrium. Okay, I don't see any trading opportunity here. Rather, what I will look forward to do is if market can drop down to this fresh demand zone here, then that becomes a trading opportunity. Or if market can trade back to this fresh supply zone here, it becomes a short opportunity. Okay, so that are the two scenarios I'll be looking out for in the daily time frame. Now let's drop down to 4 hours time frame and see a more immediate opportunity to trade in the coming week. On the 4 hours time frame, if you look at the chart very well, this was the supply zone we highlighted in our last episode. Okay, where we expected price to trade back into that zone before a sell. And once again, the trade went very well. And congratulations to those who took the trade. This was a 1-to-5 risk reward ratio trade. All right, in the coming week, what I will be expecting on 4 hours is either price will drop down to this zone, then I look for a buy. Let me zoom in so it becomes more clearer. This is a demand zone, very fresh, not yet mitigated. Okay, so if price will return there in the coming week, it becomes a good zone to buy. So that is what I'll be looking out for. Or another scenario is this. Markets can as well, in the coming week, use to push back up. Okay, if you should push back up, and I see any form of shift in market structure, then I will short to still target this demand zone. Those are the two things I'm looking out for. All right, EURUSD. Let's start with the weekly time frame. EURUSD on the weekly time frame, whatever is happening on dollar index, the opposite will be happening on EURUSD. You can see EURUSD here pushing up on the weekly time frame, but we have this supply zone here that's still holding price. Okay, so what we simply need to do is to drop down to the lower time frame to see what we have in the coming week. So now we'll drop down to the daily time frame. On the daily here, we'll have this liquidity line above here, and we'll have this supply zone up there. So in the coming week, I expect to see if price can push further to the upside. That's what I expect to see. Remember on dollar index, you're expecting price to go down. While here on EURUSD, you're expecting an upward movement. Okay. So now, how are we going to take advantage of that? To do that, what we do is to see if price can drop down to this zone before that move. Okay? That's what we expect to see. The price can further drop down to that zone, this zone. Then that might give us a good opportunity to buy EURUSD in the coming week. Then we'll target this supply zone up here. But in the daytime, that's what we're looking out for. Another scenario is this. If price should drop down to this zone, That is a good demand zone to buy from. Okay, so any of the two, you watch out for the week ahead. All right. Now on the 4 hours time frame, I have this demand zone down here, stay fresh with liquidity here. Okay. So this demand zone here is still very fresh. So if for any reason price return back, then that would be a good buy for us. Okay. We also have this demand around here. We have this zone here. But why I would not really like to trade this zone is number one. This liquidity here is likely to drop price more deeper. Okay. So what we need to do is watch out. Let's do this. If market by next week trade into this zone, watch the pattern as market is dropping, whether it's going correctively or not. Okay, then if you see a shift in market structure, then in that case, can long from there. All right, that is the only thing I will do if market should come to this particular zone. All right, but aside from that, I prefer this particular demand zone down here than this one. So any of the two, you take advantage of next week. All right, on our screen here is GBPUSD, and GBPUSD, just like EURUSD, you can see it's pushing towards the upside here. So in the coming week, what you should be looking out for is long. And to do that, you need to drop down to the lower time frame. Let's go to daily and see what we have there. In daily time frame, you can see here that this particular supply zone here has been holding price for a while now. And so creating this liquidity above here. So I still much expect price to push above here to that supply zone there. That's what I'm expecting. So how are we going to join if price should go there? We want to see if there could be a possible drop before continuation as we head into next week. But this now become our new zone. Okay, this now become our new zone. Now, if this one should fail, remember, you still have this demand zone down here. It's not yet integrated. See how this zone here. In case this one fail, you have this one here. Take advantage of that. You take your trade here. That's what I look forward to do in the coming week. Or if price can just open, then continue to the up, then I'll be looking forward to shop from that zone, the supply zone up here. That's all I have on the daily time frame. Now on the 4 hours time frame, what I'll be looking at for here is one, we'll have this demand zone down here. So a push down to this demand zone becomes opportunity to long. Also, we'll have this zone here that you can also look for trading opportunity in the coming week. So if market should return back here, look for confirmation on 1 hour time frame or also on 4 hours here, and then we long target upside. Also have all this zone, all those liquidity you see on the higher time frame line above here. So long target this supply, which price can possibly react to. Take a look at this. This supply zone here is yet to be tested. You can see this zone here. It's not been tested yet. So it's still fresh. That supply zone is still fresh, not tested yet. So it's possible that next week, price can push down to this zone, react to that zone before finally taking it out. Okay, so that is what I'm looking at for in the coming week. And also, if this particular demand zone should fail, we have this one down here. Okay, all right. Now let's check the next pair. Now the next pair on our screen here is USDJPY. USDJPY, you can see on the weekly time frame here, you see price pushing down. So I see look forward to a further drop on USDJPY, possibly to this demand zone on the weekly time frame. Okay. Meanwhile, as we expect that to happen, we can go down to lower time frame to look for more immediate trading opportunity, like on the daily time frame. Here on daily, you can see we have this liquidity line below here. and you see price push back down to this zone. Okay, so what I will do is next week, I want to see if price can push back up to this supply here. I want to see if price can push back up to this supply here. I want to see this, then a possible drop on the daily time frame. That's what I'm looking at for by next week. Okay, or if price also push above that zone, remember, see how this supply zone up here. So all those zones are valid to trade from there. When I short from here, I will be targeting this demand zone down here. So if price should return back here as well, it's a very good zone to as well long to the upside. All right. Now let's head to the 4 hours and see what we have there. Here on 4 hours, this was our last trade. Though this particular trade, our first shot here, we took a loss here. Yes, we placed our trade and we are taking out. These are our shots. So I took 1% loss here. Okay, so I just have to be transparent because I called this zone, our last Forex market outlook. So I took that trade and we are taking out. Meanwhile, you took the long, this long to the upside. We took that long. Then that short we are taking out. After being taken out, what we had to do was to wait for this market structure shift here. Then we located this supply zone here. Then we located the supply zone here. Yeah, we then took this particular short. You can see that. So we took 1% loss here, 4% profit here, and right here 6% profit. That's what actually happened during the week. Okay, so but in the coming week ahead, what are we looking at for? In the coming week, what I'm looking at for is this. We have these two zones here on the 4 hours time frame. Which of them are we going to trade from? A lot of new traders always ask me this. If you have two zones, how are we going to know the one to trade from? We don't know the one to trade from. In as much as the two zones meet our criteria for entry, okay, we take from the two zones. So what am I going to do next week? If price push back to this supply zone, I'm going to short. Okay, I place my entry here, my stop loss right above it. Then I'm going to want to target 1 to 2 or more. Okay, if that place should be liquidated, then I take the next short here with my stop loss above. There is nothing more than this in trading. Okay, in as much as these two zones, they are all supply zone. I don't need to know the one that will work and the one that will not hold. Okay, because if you check here very well, this is a supply. We have this move to the downside, creating this fair value gap that is not yet filled here. You can see here. This is the, even if you use this candle, but this is where the momentum started. This and this candle here. So if you check that place very well, you can see that that gap is still there, not yet filled. Okay, so therefore, that makes this particular zone a valid zone to trade from. And another way around, price can as well use this high here, what you see here, as liquidity. Because sometimes institutions, they know a lot of people will shop from this zone. Okay, so what they would do when they get to that zone, they can push more further. All right, to liquidate this particular high and then go more deeper to this supply zone up here. So any of them, once price enters here, I short. If that place should be liquidated, then I short from here. Yes, I'll take 1% loss here, but if this one should hold, we'll recover all. So that's what I'll be looking out for in the coming week ahead on USDJPY. When I do that, then I'm going to target this liquidity down here. Okay, I'm going to target this liquidity down here all the way, possibly to this other fresh demand zone. Let's see if we can get it. This is a fresh demand zone here. So if market should drop down, I can be targeting this one or this one or this. Okay. As a trader, all you need to do, mark your zones. Okay, mark them correctly. Place your trade. Don't sit down question which one will work and which one will not work. I don't know the one that will work. In as much as you've backtested your system and it's proving to be profitable, you don't need to know which one will work and which will not work. Follow your trading plan. Okay? All right. Now let's head to the last page, which is gold. All right. Right on our screen here is gold. And gold, if we start from the weekly time frame, we can see that finally gold broke away from the all-time high, which in our last weekly Forex forecast, we said that we are looking forward for gold to hit a new all-time high, and that has already happened. Okay, so right now on the weekly time frame, you see a new demand zone here has been created. So in case market should pull back more deep, it becomes a zone where we can buy on the weekly time frame. Okay, if you don't like, you can drop down to the lower time frame to look for more opportunities. On the daily here, this was our trade, and we are still holding this trade riding to the top as long as possible. Okay, meanwhile, on the daily time frame here, I've been able to identify this demand zone here. Okay, so in case price drop down to that zone, it becomes a good zone to buy from. All right, now let's go to the next time frame, which is the 4 hours. On the 4 hours time frame here, we are able to scale in within the week. After price break out from this zone, gave us this break of structure here. Gave us break of structure here, creating this very fresh demand zone here. We placed our trade here and then we scale in. That was within the week on Tuesday. Okay. Setup like this will not always come to you too, because these are setup we identify within the week. So if you're a member of our inner circle, that's where you benefit from setups like this. So in case you want to have access to our inner circle, then you can reach out to us so they can be part of our community. Okay. In the coming week, what you're looking at for is that we have this demand zone here, where price can also drop down to and then give us continuation. Remember, whenever gold is trending, it doesn't always retrace back deep. Okay, and that was one of the reasons why we took this trade, 1-to-7 risk reward ratio. So whenever gold is trending, my focus is always to look for opportunity to scale in and follow the trend. All right. So that is what I'm looking at for. If you come down here, is a good zone to long. Or if it should drop back more deeper, we now have this new demand zone here. So we have this new fresh demand zone here. If market should drop deeper, here you can trade from. So in case markets liquidate this demand, then push back more deeper, we will have a more better setup here, because here will not become liquidity for market to grab and then trade into your demand zone. So you can trade from here. So those are the two zones I'm looking at for in the coming week on gold. Either it's long from here or long from here. The market should come back deeper. So that is all we'll have for today. Okay, thank you and you have a nice day. Don't forget to subscribe, comment if you have any suggestion you have for us, so that we can follow up in the coming week. Thank you and you have a nice weekend.